Hi everybody, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for tuning into my channel, Losing It. Today I wanted to do a video to go over some tips on how you can avoid nausea, pain, and discomfort when eating and drinking after having gastric bypass weight loss surgery. For those of you out there who have had a gastric bypass and are struggling to eat or drink, I'm going to list some tips for you that may give you some help. They have definitely helped me. But before I get into that, I would like to invite you to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell icon so you can get notifications when I post new videos. And that way I just get some feedback, subscribers, and you can get notifications anytime I post a video, so that may help you too. Alright, well, I'm just going to jump right into my tips then. The first tip on my list is to cook meat in its own juices and in a way that will help it retain its moisture. For instance, use a crock pot or sear meat first so it holds its juices inside. Also, adding a sauce or melting cheese on meat helps a lot to keep it moist and make it moist and help it go down in the first place and keep it from getting stuck. I just use things like mayonnaise, salad dressing, cheese. I stay away from barbecue sauce, but so far other things have worked really well. The goal is just to keep the meat moist so that you can consume your protein without pain, nausea, and discomfort. If you do find that you're having pain, nausea, or discomfort, I'd like to encourage you to try some pineapple juice. It really helps me to drink some if I'm feeling any kind of nausea or pain. And usually I can tell right away if something's not going to sit well. You probably can too. So you can just reach for that pineapple juice as soon as you start to feel uncomfortable. Tip number 2 is to eat a dime-sized bite. I try to envision a dime when I'm cutting my meat and try to cut it thin and the same surface size as a dime would be. And that has helped me incredibly. At first, I would eat smaller bites than usual, and I would think, oh, okay, well, this is smaller than I used to eat, so it's a small bite, but it just wasn't small enough, so I was still having problems. So I think that a dime-sized bite is just about the right size. Tip number 3 is chew each bite at least 20 times. That helps me a lot too. A lot of people have said, chew it until it's applesauce consistency. And I think that's a good rule of thumb to use. 20 times for me usually gets it to that consistency. So if, there's a lot of activity in the house, it's easier for me to count bites rather than to focus on if I've got an applesauce consistency in my mouth or not. So usually counting the chews helps keep me focused too on what I'm doing. So so that's a good one. That really helps me a lot as well. Tip number 4, set a timer for 2 minutes in between each bite. This has saved me so much because I know every time that I don't set my timer, I eat too fast. And it never fails. I always give myself discomfort and possibly throwing up. So setting a timer for 2 minutes in between each bite really does help a lot. In that 2 minutes, I like to, well, this is getting into tip number 5, but don't let yourself get distracted. And in that 2 minutes, use that 2 minutes to really listen to your body and what you're feeling and the sensations you're having. I don't know if other people can, but I can feel my bite of food go all the way down and hit my pouch. So I can tell if it gets stuck, if it's too dry, if it's going too slow, then I know it's probably too dry. And that will get into one of the other tips I have for you. So then I can just, make changes that I'm about to discuss as I need it. So that 2 minutes really is imperative to me, not only to give time for the bite to go down and hit the pouch, but to also just stay focused on what I'm feeling. Okay, so tip number 6, If your food tends to get stuck, like mine does for some reason, I don't know, everything just seems to get stuck and is too dry. So if once you swallow, you see that, the food's going down at a really slow pace, you haven't felt it hit your pouch and things like that, it's probably because the meat is too dry. And it might be helpful to take a very small sip of drink to help wash that bite down into your pouch. I do this from time to time, usually take about 3 sips a meal, and just small sips, and it helps tremendously. Otherwise, things get stuck all the time. So I think that is helpful. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting that anybody gulp a whole cup of water or take multiple sips between bites. Just enough to get that food to go ahead and flush all the way down is all you need. Tip number 7 is consume beverages with 15 grams of total carbs or less if you can't tolerate water. If you're doing good on water, great. I'm happy for you. But I am not doing so good on water. And those of you who are not doing so good on water, I would say find drinks that are 15 grams of sugar or less. I cannot tolerate fake sugar either, so things like the Crystal Light and the sugar-free stuff and the 0-calorie things just are wreaking havoc for me. So what I have decided to do, the rule for the Premier Protein Shake or any protein shake was to get something that had 15 grams of sugar or less. Well, I should say 15 grams of total carbs or less was the rule on that. So I applied that to other drinks because I just cannot tolerate water. So I have to get some kind of fluid in. I'm terribly thirsty all the time. So the next best thing was to find other drinks that were 15 grams of total carbs or less. And that has really helped me a lot. Stay hydrated and keep fluids in. You may want to try that too if you're having sensitivity to the fake sugar and can't tolerate water. Tip number 8 is to limit or stay away altogether from caffeine and fake sugar. I just mentioned that about the sugar substitutes wreaking havoc on my gastric tract. So that's just causing a lot of trouble for me. The only thing I can tolerate is the Premier Protein Shake, and I think because it has enough protein in it to counteract the fake sugar is a possibility why I can tolerate that and not other things. So caffeine has really wreaked havoc on my system and my daughter's system as well. So we are both trying to stay and just limit our caffeine intake, really, not necessarily stay away from it, but really limit it. Once we start feeling ill, we kind of know, okay, I've had too much caffeine. So tip number 9 is eat first thing in the morning instead of drinking. If drinking first thing in the morning is making you nauseated, try eating something first. I found that my pouch was just way too empty every morning and I needed food, not a drink. So the drinks were making me super nauseated and I just couldn't figure out why I was so nauseated every single morning. And then I decided, when I realized I was craving things like melon and honeydew melon, that maybe I need to eat something watery and juicy. And so I went out and got some melon, some cantaloupe, and ate it first thing every morning, and that did the trick. I had no more nauseated mornings, and I felt, like I'd gotten some energy, a few calories, some nutrients, and I was able to go throughout the rest of my day and kind of prepare my stomach for the meals that I would have ahead. So if you're having trouble first thing in the morning, it may be the hot drink you're drinking. Maybe you need to eat first. All right, so that does it for my tips. If you have any comments or anything to add or any advice for me, I would more than welcome it. Just leave it in the comments section and I'll get back to you. So until my next update, I hope you'll join me in continuing to lose it.